Transitions can make or break your worship set. Today I want to give you 2 ways that you can handle transitions between 2 songs in the same key. Hey everyone, I'm David from Sunday Sounds, where we believe in making it fun and easy for you to play worship keys. If you're a worship musician, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because we put out new worship keys tutorials every single week. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how you can nail transitions between 2 songs in the same key. Now you might be thinking, why do you even need to make a video about this? This is easy, they're in the same key. And I guess that's sort of true. The transition between 2 songs in the same key is probably the easiest transition that exists, but I don't want you to overlook it or not think about it at all just because it seems obvious. When you have 2 songs at any time transitioning between, there's an opportunity for you to take the audience, to take the congregation from the first song to the next one, even if they're in the same key. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate 2 ways that you can make this transition interesting and smooth. Let's get right into it with the first example. So for these examples, I've got a piano and pad dialed in Sunday keys for Ableton, but you can follow along with sounds in Ableton, in MainStage, or even on your hardware keyboard. Today we're just talking about the basics of nailing these transitions regardless of where you're getting your sounds. So in this first example, let's say that we're playing a song that ends on a G, and the song is in the key of G. And then we're going into another song that's also in the key of G and also happens to start on the 1 chord. So the simplest transition here is end the first song, start the next one. We're not going to talk about that because that's the obvious transition. There's nothing wrong with that transition. And sometimes, or maybe even most of the time, that's the right way to go about it. It's nice and smooth, it's not flashy, it's simple. But in some contexts, you can use that moment of transition, even though you're in the same key, to take the audience somewhere and then give them a little payoff when you arrive at that second song. So let me play this hypothetical progression that's the ending of the first song, and I'll end it on the 1 chord on G and then go straight into the second song. And then I'll show you a way that you can change up the way that you handle this transition. And then into the second song, still on G. So it's a nice, smooth, simple, safe transition. Again, sometimes that's exactly what you need. But let me show you how we can make this moment have a little bit more tension and then release when that next song starts. So this progression is D, E minor, A minor, and then G, ending on the 1 chord. Listen to how it feels and sounds when instead of landing on G, I land on the 4 chord, which is C in the key of G. Coming up to the ending, and then I'm going to hit a C instead. So we can hang here for a moment. There's this little bit of tension, like the song's not really over. And then the song ends when we play the first chord of the next song. So I feel like it's worth figuring out whether or not this makes sense for you because you're essentially making it so that there is no transition between the 2 songs, right? The first song doesn't end until the moment that the second song starts. This can be a really cool effect because it feels almost like a medley between the 2 without any of the cheese that can go along with merging songs together. You're just holding out that moment, taking the audience with you, wondering where you're going, and then paying off immediately as that second song starts. For this second example, let's say that we're wrapping up the song One Thing Remains in the key of C, and we're transitioning into Reckless Love, also in the key of C. Depending on where you're wrapping up One Thing Remains, you might be landing on the 5 chord, which is the G chord. So we're here. this G for a little while, and then we're going right into Reckless Love. This is just the default transition. We're in the same key, so we're just gonna start the next song. Reckless Love actually starts on the minor 6. So we're going from the 5 to the 6. It's a really cool transition, and it's just a whole step transition from the 5 to the 6, and it feels really good. But the problem here is if you need to create some space or have a few moments for a prayer or a scripture or just for the audience to pause and reflect, it can feel a little bit weird over time to hang on the 5 chord in the key. This is because over time the audience might actually forget where home is. They might forget where the 1 chord is, and that 5 is going to start to feel like the new home base. And then when you go to that minor 6, it might actually be a little bit of a confusing because as far as the audience is concerned, you're actually in the key of G now. So rather than hanging on that 5 for an extended period of time, let's end the song on the 5, then transition back to the 1 and hang there for a little bit of time. Let me show you what that sounds like. Then we can just stay here on this C. The song feels like it's still sort of happening, but it's also concluded. It still feels like it's finished. And the audience definitely knows that this is home base, this is where we're at. And then whenever we're ready to go down to that minor 6, it's not gonna feel shocking or jarring, but it's also gonna feel like the next step into the next song. So again, in this example, the simple transition of just ending the first one and starting the second works totally fine depending on the context. But when you need to hold out and create more space for a while, sometimes it's worth considering whether or not the chord you're going to hang on will start to feel unnatural or maybe uncomfortably familiar or like the new home base if you hang on it for too long. Now obviously these are only 2 of a near infinite number of ways to approach transitions between 2 songs that happen to be in the same key, but I feel that these are 2 really effective moments that you can create for your congregation as you're navigating transitions between songs. I'd love to hear from you and how you like to approach transitions between 2 songs in the same key, so leave a comment and let us know your approach or your thoughts. Now we're also planning a follow-up video to this one where we're going to dive into transitions between 2 songs that are in different keys, and this is where there are lots more options and a little bit more theory and understanding involved. So depending on when you're watching this video, if the follow-up is already released, we'll link it in the description, or if that video is not released yet, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will be notified when the follow-up video premieres. Thanks for watching, have a great day.